today I want to show you how to make a little bracelet. It's a base of peyote, which if you have not done peyote before, this may be a little bit tougher for you, but it's really a very simple stitch, and I show you exactly how to do it, and you should be able to master it quite quickly. So let's look at this closer so you can see what it looks like. These look great. They're nice, dainty little bracelets that look great on the wrist, and I will show you that. They're stackable, and they look good in all kinds of different colorways. I used a lavender and a pale tanzanite on this one, and a green and a green sparkle on this one. So it's a bicone and a 2x3 crystal, Rondelle crystal. And just 8/0 seed beads, 8/0s and 11/0s. And I want you to see what the back looks like. It's really pretty on the back too. You can see how nice the stitching looks. So it makes a nice base to lay on your wrist. It's nice and smooth. And this is what this one looks like. And I got brave with my different colors. I used rose gold, gold, and green. And it turned out really nice. And I want you to feel like you don't have to use the same colors I do. You can use any color you want, and you can come up with some really pretty cool combinations here. It's pretty forgiving. So let me put this one on, see if I can actually master this here. I'm using a fold over clasp. You can use whatever clasp you want. I just think that the fold over clasp on this really finishes it off pretty. And I'm going to put this on and come back because you don't want to watch me struggle with that. Okay, here they both are on the wrist. You can see how nice and stackable they are. And I'll show you what the clasping looks like. It's really pretty also. And these little clasps, they just make such a difference. And I will put a link for them and for the crystal and stuff so that you can make this project. If you would like to get the exact same thing I'm using, then you'll have the links for that. So look for that in the comments and in the description box beneath the video player. And I just want to say that I'm really tired and kind of goofy tonight, so put up with me in the video, please. And don't laugh at me, laugh with me. I've had a really long week. My mom isn't doing as well as she was, and yeah, it's just been a really long, tough week. So I hope that you'll put up with me and enjoy the tutorial. Let's go ahead and look and see what it takes to make this project. Okay, for this project today, we are going to be using some Toho seed beads, and we are going to be using 8/0 in two colors. So I have the Sweet Blush and I have the Starlight. And I'm also going to use a fold over clasp. So I'm going to use rose gold, and I think the Sweet Blush goes a little bit better with these rose gold clasps than the actual rose gold Toho, though it goes okay too. But this seems to be a little bit more pink, and Sweet Blush is more pink. So I'm going to use that. I'm also going to use a Sweet Blush 11/0. Now this little clasp that I'm using, I have a bunch of them on my website, and it's just a little fold over clasp. And I'll show you how to use that during the tutorial. They're very pretty, and they make a really nice ending. However, you can use whatever clasp you would like. And for this project, I would recommend a lobster claw if you're not going to use this, because it's a really dainty bracelet. Then we're going to use some 2x3 Rondelle crystals. This is a green sparkle. And I have these on my website in a bunch of colors. So be brave, mix up some colors, and see what you can come up with. With one strand of these, you can make several bracelets. Then I'm going to be using some bicone crystals. Now you haven't seen me use a lot of bicones lately because of Swarovski and their weirdness with their beads right now. I never liked to use any kind of crystal in bicones except for Swarovski, simply because the ends were nice, the cut was better. Swarovski's the best. But since I couldn't really get any, and I didn't want to run and hoard a whole bunch of them and try to compete to get some, I just haven't been using them. But I have introduced on my website some AAA grade Chinese crystal. These are pretty nice. Now, of course, no, they are not Swarovski, and they are not as good as Swarovski, but they're pretty darn good. The ends of them are really nice. Let me get you in close. They're not all broken up. The sparkle is really nice. The shape is pretty nice. They're a little bit squattier than Swarovski, but they're pretty nice shaped. And they look really good on a piece. You can see on this piece, they look really nice. You wouldn't really guess right away that I didn't use a Swarovski. They look really nice. They have great sparkle. So I have these on my website. I put them in little containers like this. The 4mm has about 100 pieces in these containers. They're very affordable compared to Swarovski, so you can get a few of them, and in one container here you can make several of these bracelets. So if you get one strand and one container of this, you're going to be able to make several bracelets. We're going to use about 18 bicones and I think about 30 of the rondelles. And I think there's close to 200 on here. I'm not positive because I don't remember all those things, but I'm pretty sure. And you can get a lot of, you can do several bracelets with that. And like I said, there's all kinds of different colors. I have several different colors, and I will be getting more if everyone likes them. I have them, I'm kind of doing them on a trial basis. I'm also going to probably get some Preciosa pretty soon. I haven't invested yet, but I think I'm going to try. Of course, Preciosa went nuts in price and availability as soon as Swarovski announced their weirdness. So right now, these are very affordable, very nice. You will make really nice pieces from them, and I do have a bunch of them on my website. So, and I will get more colors as time goes on, and I'll also get a 3mm. Right now, I have 6 and 4mm, and I'll post a link. Anyway, Nanofil, 10 pound, and a size 10 or 12 beading needle is what you're going to need. And we will go ahead and put about a wingspan on our needle and get started. Okay, to start this project, you should have a wingspan of thread on your needle. A wingspan is when you spread your arms out from side to side. You measure from the fingertips of the first hand the length of that arm across your chest, the length of the second arm, and to the fingertips on that hand. Then we're going to pick up a stop bead. So I have this little 4mm round pearl. Anything that's different than the beads you're using will work. Bring it down to the end of the thread. You don't have to leave a long tail, but you want to leave a few inches, and then just go through the tail side of that bead, just like this, and just pull your thread through. This will create a stop bead that you can pull off when you're finished. Now, the way we're going to start this is we're going to pick up a number of 8/0 seed beads that's divisible by 3, and then we're going to add 2 to that number. So I'm shooting for about a 7 1/4 inch bracelet, and I am going to pick up, or my number is 72, that's divisible by 3, and then I'm going to add 2 beads to it. So I'm going to pick up 74 8/0 seed beads. So I'm just going to go ahead and start picking up, and I think actually I want to use my gold color. So I'm just going to start picking up 8/0 seed beads until I get 74 on my thread, and we'll be back. Okay, so you should have something that looks like this. Once you put your number of beads that you want for your length of bracelet on here, and like I said, I have 74, then you will just begin to recount them. So you'll just lay it down and go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and so on, just moving them down the thread and making sure that you have the accurate number, and then you can just scoot them back down to the stop bead. And I already counted mine, so I know that I'm good. Now we're going to begin a simple peyote stitch. So what we're going to do is, most people have an issue starting peyote. So I'm going to show you a little trick. Let me rearrange my camera here and get you in a little closer. What I do is I hold on to the second bead in my number of beads that I have on my thread. I just let the first one just fall wherever. And then I pick up one onto my needle, like this. And then I just go into that second bead that I'm holding on to right there, just like that. And then I just hold on to it, pull my needle through, and let those two beads, that first one that was on your original strand or count, and the one you picked up, just let them come to the top of your beads as you pull your thread up. Then you can kind of straighten them up, and that will start the peyote for you, just like that. Then we're just going to begin peyote. So what peyote is a really simple stitch. You just pick up a bead and skip a bead. So we're coming out of this bead, we're going to skip this bead, and we're going to go through this bead. First we're going to pick up a bead, skip this one, and go into the one after it, just like this. Now I'm trying to keep it, when I do this, so I don't have a really twisty bracelet, I'm going to try to keep my thread coming through the same side of the beads. It's a long area to do, so you just have to kind of manipulate it as you do it. Pull your thread through and just pull it over to that side so that all the beads pop on the same side as the first one you did. Now I've got a lot of thread, so it's kind of hard for you to watch. You can pull on your working thread a little bit, tighten it up, make sure that you have something that looks like this. Move down a little bit, holding onto your piece, pick up an 8/0 seed bead. You're coming out of this 8/0 here, you're going to skip this one and go into this one right here. Now I'm going to hold on to it and pull until I get close, that way I can kind of control my piece. Push my thread over that way, and that's what I have. Now it does all kinds of weird flippy floppy things. I'm just trying not to let the thread twist inside, because if you do that, your bracelet is more likely to twist also. So you just try to keep your thread coming out of the same side each time. And again, we're coming out of this bead, we're going to skip this one and go into the next one after we pick up a bead. So pick up a bead and skip this bead and go into this one. And then just hold on to it. I just put my thumb and my finger together and slowly pull your thread through, because we have a lot of thread. And when I get it down there, I give it a tiny tug, arrange it, and then tug it again to get my tension and keep my stitch nice and neat. It's going to bend and do weird things because, as I said, we have a really long length of beads we're doing here. So again, pick up another bead, skip this one, go into the one after it. Pull your thread through while holding on to it and give it a little tug. Straighten everything out. And just continue doing that. Do that the entire length. And when we get to the very last one, we'll be back. One hint, as you're doing this, if your beads start to get really tight and you're having a difficult time getting through them, then just adjust your bead on the end here. Just pull it just a little bit, not a lot, because then they won't stay together nice either, but you want to be able to have enough slack to where you can work in between these beads really nicely as you do your peyote stitch. Okay, let me show you as I advance a little bit more down here how I'm holding it and how I'm doing the stitch, because I realize this is a beginner's channel and I want to make sure that you see how it works all the way down. So it's the same exact thing. It's just that you want to make sure that you keep your tension nice so it looks like this. You've got a nice one in the middle and two stacked next to each other, a nice one in the middle, and so on and so forth. So I'm holding it, just kind of leaning it over my fingers like this, and then I just am coming out of this one. I'm going to skip this one and go into this one, and I can just hold on to it like this in my hand, put my thumb over the top, pull my bead down, feeling the thread and the bead and guiding it into place, giving it a little tug, just like that. So I do it again. I will skip this bead, go into the next bead, hold my thumb over it, gently pull my thread, guide my bead down into place. Now if it starts to twist or do anything weird, up at the top there, to straighten it out and then tighten your thread, just like that. It's going to move around because it's really long. That's why I'm holding it like this in my hand, so that I can kind of keep it nice and straight as I work. So I'm going to continue till I get to the end. I just wanted to give you a couple of hints. Okay, so this is what my length looks like. I need to put in my last stitch, and we need to do some finagling on the end here to get started with our embellishments. But I wanted you to see what it looks like. If it's twisted or messed up or anything, just straighten it out. Make sure your tension is nice. It's going to be a little wobbly looking, but it should be fairly neat and tight. Now, I'm going to show you how I'm going to do this last stitch here. Let me get my piece all straightened out. And what I have is I'm coming out of this last bead here. I'm going to skip this one and go through this one, and then I'll bead to my spacer bead. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Just leave your spacer bead in place and just kind of move it out of the way. Just like this. Let me get you in a little bit closer. And we're just going to pull that bead, that last bead, up through. I'm holding on to my little spacer bead here, and I'm pulling this one into place. Now, a thing about our numbers here, our math, you may have to do a little finagling with your math if you did not end up with an even number, because in the beginning I told you make sure it's a number divisible by 3 and then add 2 to it. Now, if you ended up with an odd number, you may want to rethink your math, go a little shorter or a little longer so that you end up with a number divisible by 3 plus 2 that ends up to be an even number. Like I did 72, I added 2, I have 74. Or just do the exact same amount I do and rethink your clasping if you need it to be a little shorter. If you need it to be a little longer, you can also add to your clasping, use a bigger clasp or a smaller clasp. Either way. Now, we're coming out of this end bead here. I'm going to move the spacer bead. Things are going to want to move around, so you want to hold on to this stitch here. And then you want to pick up 2 more 8/0 seed beads on your needle. And you're going to go straight down into this one bead right here. Hold on to that bead so it doesn't move all over the place, and loosen up your last couple stitches. Pull this down until you can position them on top of this last bead, up and down like this. Now things are going to loosen up a little, but you don't want them to get really, really, really loose. Hold on to it like this. Straighten it up the best you can. And then we're going to go down into this bead on this side. Let me get you a little bit closer. We're coming out of this middle one. We're going to go down into this one. Hold on to it, pull your thread through, and gentle tug at the end here. It's going to mess things up, so straighten them back up. Now you're coming out of this bead here, you're going to cross over into this one. Just go straight across. Go through that bead, pull your needle through, and give a gentle tug, because you don't want to pull these stitches away from the others too much. But you want them to be tight. What we're doing is securing the end here that we just added. Now we're going to go up through, we're coming out of this one, we're going to go up into the middle one, and then the one to the side too, also. And we're just going to pull our thread through. I'm going to move my spacer bead a little bit further away now, and I'm going to cross straight over and go down into this bead here. Pull, and then go down into this middle bead and the side bead over here, if you can get them both, just like this. And then I'm going to hold on to it and pull. Now, just for good measure, I'm going to go down into the next unit and work my way back up, just so that everything stays together. If yours is a little bit looser, that's okay. Just keep working through it, gently tugging on it until you get it nice and neat. Now, it looks like no, that's okay. That's just my end thread, that's fine. So now I'm going to go down into this one and the one to the side here. Let me make sure I'm in camera. I hope I was in camera the whole time. Now we're going to cross over and go into this one. Now everything should be pretty well tightened up and looking halfway decent. Then we're going to go back into this middle one and work our way up to the end. So I'm going to go into this middle one. So all we've done is just add a stitch on the end and then secured the stitches beneath it. Then I'm going to the side here. So I came through this middle one, I'm going to the side one, going into the middle one, and yeah, just the middle one. Oops, I caught my piece. There we go. And then I am going to go up into this bead on the side here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this bead off, just pull it off. I'm going to turn this over. Yeah, I did get my thread crossed here. So I'm just going to pull it out. What I did was I just stitched my tail in. So I'm just going to pull it out. So you don't want it on the outside of your beads. And that was just the tail thread, so it's okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and cut that tail thread down. Of course, I have my dull scissors again. Yeah. Let's see if I can find a pair of scissors that will actually work. Maybe some cutters here. Sorry guys, not prepared, I guess. See if I can use some wire cutters. Of course not. Okay, okay, sorry about that. Ill-prepared person here. Cut that off. I'm just going to leave it kind of hanging there and I can burn it down later. But right now I'm just going to leave it there. Now all that tugging on it, I messed everything up, so I'm going to straighten it up. Basically, all you need to do is cut your tail off with a pair of scissors that actually work. And this is what you should have. Now, we're going to add our clasping on here, and then we are going to work into some embellishments. So, what we're going to do is we're going to pick up an 11-0 seed bead and an 8-0 seed bead, and I'm going to go ahead and use my rose gold 11-0, my gold 8-0. You could use a rose gold one since you, well, if you're doing the clasping the same way I am. But I'm just going to go ahead and stick with my gold. And then I am going to go up or go into one end of my clasp. And actually, I'm going to take an end off of this clasp. If you're going to use one of these, if you get one on my website, just open one of the ends, and when they're brand new, they're kind of hard to open. And of course, you know, things are not cooperating with me right now. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll just stick my little pliers inside and just open it. Come on, you. There we go. They get easier to manipulate after you've opened them a couple times. So take one end off, close it back up. This is the top where it's domed. You'll see one end is flat and one end is domed. That's the top, the domed part. And then I am going to just sew through the loop on here. So right through this little loop. I'm going to pull it down. If you take one end off, it's just easier to manipulate, and then you can put the circle part back on at the very end. So now I have put on 11-0 and 8-0, gone through the circle of my clasp. I'm going back down just through the 8-0. I'm going to hold on to that 8-0, pull my thread through, and draw everything down towards the piece here, just like that. Then I'm going to pick up an 11-0, and I'm going to go down into this 8-0. So we started on this side and the 8-0 on this side. We're going to go into this 8-0 now, right here. So I'm going to pick that up, go through it, like this. And then I'm going to cross over and sew back through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick my piece up like this. I'm going to go into this 8-0 straight over, and I'll go up into the 11-0 and the 8-0 above it, just like that. It's kind of blurry. Let me back off just a little bit here. Okay, go up through those. And then I'm going to go into my clasping. And then I'm going to come back down. So I'm through my clasp now. I'm going to go into this 8-0, this 11-0 on this side now, and then into the 8-0 on this side. Pull. And just straighten everything up. Now I'm coming out of this 8-0. I want to sew down into this unit and then back up and secure it a couple times. But I just don't want a big bunch of thread here, so I'm going to go down into this middle one here. And then I'm going to go over to this side. It seems like I'm doing a whole lot, but it's very simple. Once you do it, follow step by step, you'll be okay. Then we're going to cross over again. So we're coming out here, we're going to go here, and I'm also going to go into the middle bead above this one. Here. Just like this. Pull through. And now I'm going to work my way back up. So I'm coming out of this middle bead. I'm going to go into this 8-0. I'm going to go into the 11-0 above it. The 11-0 my clasping is on, if I can, which I cannot, so I'm just going to go through the 8-0 and that 11-0, and then the 8-0 my clasp is on. Then I'll come up through the clasp, and then I'll come down through this 8-0 here and the 11-0 and the 8-0 here if I can. Sometimes they're weird angles and they're hard to do. Now, if you would like to, you could cross over and go through your clasping one more time if you want to, but I think it looks pretty secure, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to get ready to put on my embellishments now, and the way I do that is I just come through this center bead here. Now, I'm going to lay it down so you can see what I have. Make sure that your piece is not twisted whatsoever, because we're going to start putting on our embellishments. If it twists, you're going to get a really weird result. So you want it to be nice and straight. You're coming out of this bead right here. So you put on your clasping. The first middle bead should have 2 sticking up on either side. You're coming out of that one. What you're going to do is you're going to pick up an 11-0, a bicone crystal, and an 11-0. Just like this. We're coming out of this bead here. We're going to skip this next middle bead, and we're going to go into the bead in the middle after that one. So we're coming out of this one, skip this one, go into this one right here. And I'm just going to put my finger under it, put my thumb on top, and just guide my embellishment down as I pull my thread through. Give it a little tug, and that's what that should look like. Now, I'm going to just make sure everything's nice and tight. Arrange it so it's not twisting, and that isn't going to stay tight for very long. And once we get down the line a little bit, it will tighten up, but right now it's going to be a little bit loose. And then we're going to pick up an 11-0, a bicone crystal, and an 11-0. we're going to skip the next middle bead and go into the bead in the middle after that one. Right there. And you're going to pull your embellishment down. And see how when I pulled on that, it tightened up that first one? That's how that's going to work. Each embellishment is going to be loose until you put the next one on. So pick up an 11-0, a bicone crystal, an 11-0, skip the next middle bead. So you're just not even counting these two. You're going to skip this one and go through this one. These two that stick out, they don't exist at this point. Right now, all you're worried about are the very middle beads. So I'm going to skip that one and go through this one. Pull it nice. And just be very neat and meticulous and slow doing this process. Pick up an 11-0, a bicone, an 11-0. We're going to skip this one and go into the next middle bead in our peyote. And pull. Now, as I pull, I just straighten things up because it's going to want to twist and do weird stuff. And I'm going to get you really close so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. We're going to do one more and then we'll go to length. So we're going to pick up an 11-0. We're going to pick up a bicone. We're going to pick up an 11-0 like this. So we're coming out of this middle bead. We're going to skip the next middle bead and then go into the one after it. And then just gently hold on to it, pull these beads down, and tighten them up. The ones previous will tighten. You want to make sure they tighten well, and then you want to straighten the piece back out. And you're going to do that all the way to the end, and we'll be back. And this is what you should have. I'm about to put in my last one, but I want you to see what it looks like. Now this is really pretty just like this, but it's top heavy and it'll tip and probably turn on the wrist. So we're going to do another side embellishment to fix that. But first, we're going to put in our last embellishment. And this is where you will know if your math was correct or not. You will end up with one bead before your two that are on top of each other here. So you will end up with a perfect amount to do one last bead. You'll have your 3 open here. So you're coming out of this one. Otherwise, you'll end up to where you don't have your math quite correct, and it'll show you. You'll know. So pick up your 11-0, your bicone, and your 11-0. And then we're just going to skip this one and slide into this very end one. And you can go into the side one too if you can do them both at the same time, which I cannot. So I'm just going to slide on top of the 2 here. Pull this into place. And then I'm going to go into this side bead here. Just like that. Now I'm going to turn my bracelet around because it's not in the right position for my right hand and it's driving me crazy. Sorry. There we go. So now I've come through, I'm coming out of this one, I'm making sure my embellishment is nice and tight, and I'm going to put on the other end of my clasping. So let's see if this will argue with me a little less than last time. A lot of it has to do with my fingernails too, but you know. See if I can open this up. And of course I cannot because my fingernails won't let me. So I'm just going to open this up. And I'm just going to set my circle side apart. Don't lose it, because your clasping will be worthless if you do. But I'm just going to open this up, close it again, and I'm going to attach this. That way I don't have this big awkward thing on there. But like I said, put it somewhere where you can find it, because we need that. So now I'm going to back up just a little bit, move myself over here, make sure nothing is twisted. Everything looks good, and then pick up an 11/0 and an 8/0 on your needle, like this. Let's get in a little closer. I'm sorry, I should have just left it there. And then I'm going to drop this 11/0 and 8/0 down, and I'm going to go up through my clasp, just like this, and drop it down. And then I'm going to go back into just the 8/0 seed bead right here. I'm going to hold on to it and pull my thread through and draw that clasp down. Make sure you turn it around to where the domed part is up if you're using this. Otherwise, just go through whatever loop of whatever clasp you have, the same exact process. And then pick up an 11/0 and go through this side now, on the 8/0 on the side right next to the one we're anchored to. Go into that one and pull. Straighten everything out and cross over. So now you're coming out of this bead, cross over, go into this one, and up through the 11/0, the 8/0, and through your clasp, just like this. And then pull it through. And then go down into the 8/0, 11/0, and 8/0 on this side, right here. Now, in order to make sure we're anchored to more than just these two beads, we're going to go down through this middle one here and into the side one, right here. I'm going to turn my piece over, pull this through, and cross over on the back so I don't have any thread over my crystal. Just go over to this one, back up into the middle, bead right here, slide through that middle one, and then we're going to go into the side one here. We can turn it back over, up into the 8/0 and the clasp. We're just securing our clasp is basically all we're doing right now. And go back down into this 8/0, the 11/0, and the 8/0 on this side right here. And now our clasping is secure. Now, you can see I twisted it all up, so I'm going to untwist it, make sure everything looks good. And I should have tightened my last embellishment a little bit better before I started securing everything. It's not horrible, but it could be better. Now, we're coming out of this 8/0 seed bead right here. We're going to start an embellishment down one side, and then we're going to go up the other side once we finish. So what we're going to do is anywhere that there is an 8/0 seed bead, you're going to pick up a crystal. Anywhere that there is a crystal, you're going to pick up an 8/0. That'll make more sense in a second. So we're going to slide from 8/0 to 8/0 to 8/0 all the way down, putting in either an 8/0 or a crystal. And I'm going to use my rose gold 8/0s and my little green crystals here. I am right next to, I'm coming out of this bead, I'm going to go over the top of this 8/0. So I want to pick up a crystal first because there's an 8/0 there. I want a crystal next to it. So I'm going to pick up this little crystal, go into the next 8/0. And then I'm just going to pull the crystal down in between the 8/0s. Just like that. Now I'm using a 3x2. You can definitely see that you could fit a 3x2.5 in there too. So don't let the colors limit you. If you want to pick up a different color than I have in, or wherever you're shopping, in just the 3x2s, you can get a 3x2.5. It will fit in there. So Now I am coming out of this one. I'm next to a crystal. I'm going to pick up an 8/0 and I'm going to use my rose gold. So I'm going to go into the next 8/0 and I'm going to pull this 8/0 down in between those two 8/0s. Make sure I have nice tension. And then now I'm next to an 8/0. So I'm going to pick up a crystal and then go into the next 8/0. Right there. And make sure I don't get tangled. And pull that down like that. Now I'm going to pick up an 8/0 because I'm next to a crystal. So I'll pick up my 8/0, go into my next 8/0, and I'll just use rose gold the whole time. And that will bring out my accent in my rose gold and also blend in my rose gold clasping. As you do this, you still need to make sure you don't twist anything. Things are going to want to twist. Keep straightening them out so that when you're finished, everything is nice and straight. Then we're going to pick up an 8/0, or excuse me, a crystal, and go into the next 8/0. You will know your marker is, if you're going to be putting your embellishment over an 8/0, it'll be a crystal. If you're going to be putting your embellishment on the 8/0 next to the one that's holding a crystal, it will be an 8/0. Make sure you pull the slack out as you do this, because you're going to have a little bit of slack. And that's what that's starting to look like. Get you in really close. And just continue. And you can hold it a little bit more convenient than I was holding it. I have to try to stay in camera. But you can hold it any way that's convenient to yourself so that it doesn't look quite as awkward as I was doing it. But just keep working all the way down to the end. And when you get to the end where the clasping is attached, we'll be back so that we can cross over and do the other side. Okay, so now I have done that entire side. I am ready to put my very last embellishment on. I'm going to get you close here. So I'm coming out of this last 8/0 right here. I'm going to pick up an 8/0 because my last embellishment was my crystal. So I'm going to pick up an 8/0, plus I'm placing it next to a crystal. So I'll slide up into this 8/0 here. And then I'm going to pick up another crystal and put it here. I'm just going to go through this 8/0 here, pop that crystal down in there. Let me get closer and get in camera here. I don't even know if I was in camera. So I put my embellishments on just like I have been doing. I put on an 8/0, and then this little extra unit between the clasp and the last crystal there, you're going to go ahead and put a crystal in there. And we're coming out of just this 8/0. We're going to turn over the bracelet and we're going to go into the 8/0 next to it. Just slide straight over into that 8/0 and just the 8/0, and then turn it back over. And now you're in position to start your embellishments again. Make sure that you tug tight, that the embellishments that you put on the other side are nice and tight, and you're ready to start this one. Because once you start this side, it's going to set this side. So you want to make sure this side looks good, there's no slack, everything's pretty, and you'll start working down this side, which will help balance out the bracelet, because right now you only have one half. Of course, it may be a little curved, it may be a little funky, it may want to twist, but now you're going to balance that out by doing the other side. Let's get back in here, and we're going to start, because we're coming out of this bead here, we need to pick up a crystal and place it next to that 8/0 that's in the center of your original peyote. So this 8/0 here, I'm going to pick up my piece, I'm going to turn it so that I can see my 8/0, and I'm just going to slide into the next 8/0 and pull it through. Now, make sure, I'm going to turn it like this, make sure that you're not twisting your bracelet. in order to do this. So just lay it straight in front of you like this, and now you can work down the side and just move it up as you go. So I've got this crystal here. I'm next to a bicone, so I'm going to pick up my rose gold 8/0, and I'm going to slide into the next 8/0 and pull it through. Just like that. And we're going to do the same thing that we did on the other side. All the way down. Now I'm going to pick up a crystal because I'm next to a center 8/0, so I'm going to put in a crystal. And now I'm next to a bicone, so I will put in an 8/0 here. So do your crystal, bicone, crystal, bicone, yes. Crystal 8/0, all the way down until you get to the end, and we'll be back. Okay, my fabulous people. I have gone all the way up. I need to put in my last crystal and tie off. I want you to see what it looks like. And the first thing after you get done, just kind of stretch it out so that you adjust your tension, and then kind of wrap it around so that it gets some flexibility before we set our stitch. Also, I want to show you what it looks like close up with both sides done. It's really pretty. And then the back, it's very, very pretty too. So basically we're just doing peyote all the way up and down. We just put an embellishment in the middle between some peyote and switched out with a crystal and a different color. That's basically all we're doing. And now we're going to finish it. So we're coming out right here. I put in my last 8/0 there, so I need to pick up a crystal now. Get everything straightened up here and pick up a crystal. And I did not use more than a wingspan, so if you use a full wingspan of thread, you should not have to do any kind of extending your Fireline or your Nanofil or anything. So I'm going to go up into the 8/0 and the 11/0 behind it, just like this. I'm just going to take the opportunity to go up through this one more time through the clasping on this side because I didn't secure it quite as much as the other side. So you can either do what we did on the other side and tie off, or you can do what I'm going to do. I'm going to go up into this 8/0 here. If I can get through, you might have to move your clasp around because it's tight on there, of course. And then I'm going to go through my clasping and back down into the 8/0 here. Now I have another security pass through my clasping. I'm going to go into the 11/0 and the 8/0 here. Then I'm going to turn my piece over. I'm going to draw my thread through the beads on this side here. And I'm going to get you really close because this is kind of hard to see. We're going to try to grab the thread bridge in between this 8/0 and the middle 8/0 if we can. Right here. So I'm basically just going under the thread that's between these two beads here. And I'm going to bring my needle through. See if I can. Yeah. Just stuck a little. And then I'm going to go through that loop and tie a knot on that thread bridge. I'm going to go down into this middle bead here and work my way to the outside so tying will be a little bit easier. So I'll go into that middle bead and then these two side beads. And now I can just go up in between these two beads beneath that thread that's between those two beads. And tie a little circle, or tie a little circle, yeah, tie a little knot, and then go into this one here, and back down this middle bead. Oh, it flew away. This middle bead here, and then over to the side, and to this other one out here. And again, go underneath that little thread bridge right there and through the loop. And again, down. You can do this as much as you want. I'm going to just go into this middle one. I'm going to see if I can actually find a pair of scissors that'll work. And I'm going to, which ones did I decide? These kind of work. They are not great either. I'm going to cut this down and leave a little tag. I don't think I have a lighter, but I will find one and burn that down. And now I'm going to grab the loop for my clasp. If you have a regular like lobster claw or a toggle or whatever, just sew the clasp on exactly the same way I did, just going up through the loop on it or just going through the jump ring or whatever you use for your clasping, and you will be fine. Just add any clasp you want. Now I'm just going to put this end on here like that, and then I can put this on. See if I can open this side. Oop, yep. Yes, indeed. And then I'm going to hook this side like that. And this is what this looks like. Now this one turned out a little bit bigger. I may have to measure it. This one's a little bit bigger than this one, I think. And let me show you each of them. Yeah, that one's a little bit bigger than this one. And I did the same math. I don't know, girls and boys. I just don't know. I'm going to put this one on so you can see how pretty they are together. Now, like I said, with this one I used lavender. Let me move back a little. I used lavender and pale tanzanite, I believe. And I used platinum tone, or I used nickel plate Toho. Jeez Louise, Gina. And I used, I can't do this. These are easy clasps to do. I'm just being a real clumsy. Come on, you. There we go. I got it. I probably twisted my bracelet, but I got it. There we go. Anyway, this one I used a nickel for the 8-0. I probably should have shown you the bottom of it before I put it on and did all that struggle. But I used a nickel and a rose gold so for my 8-0s and a rose gold for my 11-0. So I have my rose gold and my embellishment, my last passes, and my original stitch in a nickel. And I used a lavender and a pale tanzanite Rondelle. And you can see, you can just mix all kinds of colors. I wanted to use the rose gold with the green because I think pink and green look really pretty together. And the gold in the background, so it kind of makes it like a little crisscrossy look in the back. It's really pretty. You can use any color you want. You can do it all one color in your seed beads if you'd like. But get brave, mix some colors up. They work out really nice. I have some really pretty sapphire little rondelles that would look really good with a baby blue or a sapphire bicone. I am really getting tired. I can't talk. I just can't talk anymore. So we're going to have to call this quits. But anyway, that's what that looks like. Let me see if I can actually take this off so you can see the color on the back of this one. So you can see the color combination and how pretty it looks on the back of this one. So that's the nickel and the rose gold. And that's what that looks like. Let's take this one off. And I actually don't think this is... Maybe it is a little longer. We're going to have to put it next to it and see. I just dropped my clasp, my round part. Ha, smart. But anyway, I'll get that. But it is just a little bit longer. I must have added a little extra on this end that I didn't add on this end. That's what I did. I don't know. But not a whole lot longer. It's just a tiny bit. And let's see how long they are, and then I'll stop talking your ear off. I'm tired. I didn't wasn't short and to the point this time. I'm sorry, but you know, sometimes I just want to chit chat with you guys. It's 7 inches. Well, by the time you do the clasping, it's about 7.5 inches. So that's what that is. And now I have to find a little piece that I threw on the floor. Jeez. Anyway, that's what that looks like. And I hope you like it. And I'm sure you're sick of treasure box tutorials, so I thought I'd throw something else together. And I think this turned out just really, really pretty. So, anyway, bye-bye.